CFO Training Symposium that this year highlights the department's leadership year and our own efforts towards building a leadership lifestyle. Just a few minutes ago, we held our annual awards ceremony where we recognized 58 distinct accomplishments performed by 240 of our friends and colleagues, many of which are sitting here with us in the audience. And we did something special this year. Due to the amazing CFO response to an unprecedented year of hurricane disasters, we created a special award for our response-related nominees. So how about a big hand for all of our CFO folks who know how to step up? For those of you who I've not had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Burl Randall, and I'm the Director for Workforce Development at headquarters. My team each year strives to make this training and awards event an ever better, and we hope you find that true again this year with a cast of outstanding plenary speakers, a spotlight on leadership with 10, count them 10, sessions that speak to our leadership lifestyle, and a new focus area on data analytics and even disaster response. Also new this year, we are partnering with the American Society of Military Comptrollers, a professional association of military financial folks like us. So don't be surprised if you see some uniforms around here today other than Coast Guard. So welcome, ASMC. Among other topics, AMC will be bringing in a foremost government expert on enterprise risk management, which is an approach to resource stewardship that is really starting to get traction here at DHS and across government. If you haven't been tuning into ERM yet, now is the time. This is a great opportunity to see where we are and where we still need to go. And I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that, based on your popular demand in recent years, we're having our first ever CFO Mix and Mingle event this year. This exclusive gathering, which begins at 5 o'clock, today at Bar 7, which is basically across the street and down the block. So please join us for CFO camaraderie, team building, leadership discussions, and some pretty good prices on food and drink. But more seriously, to kick off our training symposium this year, we are greatly honored to have one of our top leaders, Acting Deputy Secretary Claire Grady, who will present her perspectives on leadership and management issues. I will leave it to Stacy to introduce her, but must say how lucky we are to have her support. Thank you, ma'am. I'll bring you on just a second. Now let me ask you something really quick. Did you know that last year we piloted 4 new leadership programs? Did you know that? Oh, I'm hearing yeses. Wow, that's awesome. Well, we did, and I'm happy, for those of you that didn't know that, you do now. Well, we did, and I'm happy to report that they have not only been deemed a resounding success, but we are rolling them out to all components this year. So in alignment with Leadership Year, Stacy will be sharing the details of those programs and introduce you to our first cohorts of program leaders who are well on their way to building their leadership lifestyle. Then comes a symposium favorite, Mr. Dave Weinberg, who will speak today on taking care of our people, and then again tomorrow on taking care of our customers. Dave's hilarious approach to leadership and people questions has been a mainstay at this event for 3 years. So much so that he now gets the main stage, not just once, but twice. Clearly, we can't get enough of Dave. Closing our program today will be the Honorable Ricardo Aguilera, the CFO of the Federal Reserve Board. Ricardo will speak to leadership issues he's faced in his military and civilian life, as well as what it's like to be a CFO outside of DHS. Then finally today, demonstrating my own personal leadership skills, I will be leading the charge over to Bar 7 at 5 o'clock. So everybody, please follow me. But more seriously, kicking off our day tomorrow will be Chief Master Sergeant, retired, John Ryder, who will discuss the importance of us in the financial community in executing our Homeland Security mission. And closing tomorrow, as previously mentioned, well, here comes Dave again. Now, in between all these great plenary speakers, all we have to offer you are 42 breakout sessions on financial issues, both large and larger, most led by our own DHS CFO experts. We've organized these sessions into tracks in budget, finance, internal controls, cost estimating, and grants management. And of course, leadership. And this year, as previously mentioned, we're sprinkling on top some unique sessions on hurricane response and data analytics, which are really hot topics. And if you're wondering how we came up with such robust and diverse topics and presenters, they came from a great collaborative effort between headquarters and components. And for that, I'd like to thank not only those presenters that are here and with us, but the Symposium Planning Committee. This is a group of thinkers who met for 3 months to shape the symposium agenda and to recruit and then to cajole those speakers to get us those darn slides that you'll be watching today. So how about a big hand for the presenters and the good folks that forced them into this mess anyway? I also want to quickly thank our volunteers that helped, without which we couldn't do this without, and certainly the workforce development team at headquarters who make these miracles happen. Thank you to those guys. So now let me present our sponsor, a woman who is a model for building a leadership lifestyle, who has served as both headquarters CFO and deputy CFO for over 6 years. Please join me in giving the biggest round of applause to our host, our leader, and our CFO, Ms. Stacy Marcotte. Thank you, Stacy.
Really quick, good morning again. Great award ceremony. Thank you, Burl. It is just, you can't get away from the theme, building a leadership lifestyle. I kind of like living a leadership lifestyle also. Both, a little bit of both. And alliteration is my favorite form of poetry, so we'll go with live and build it today. But our next speaker, and here to kick off our 2 days of symposium training with start us on a super high note, is the Acting Deputy Secretary and Undersecretary for Management, Ms. Claire Grady. It's my pleasure and honor to introduce you and turn it over to you, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to see so many faces awake and alert, and quite frankly, at this point, nobody is looking at their iPhone or BlackBerry, which is kind of miraculous. So thank you. Great start, and I want to thank Stacy and Burl for this opportunity to come speak with you this morning. I think it's just absolutely fantastic that this symposium is being put on, but also that each one of you and your supervisory chain recognize the importance of being here, the importance of investing in your continuous professional training, as well as the emphasis on leadership training. As you move through an organization, it becomes more and more apparent that functional expertise alone, while necessary, is not sufficient, and leadership becomes a very key part of everything we do. Particularly in the financial community, you all touch on every single aspect of the very, very broad, diverse sets of missions that the Homeland Security executes every day. We execute in a zero-fail environment, largely, and all of that is possible because of people in this room and the folks back in the office who are making this happen. So before I provide a little bit more formal remarks, I just wanted to give you all my true, sincere thanks. Everything we do day in and day out to prevent bad things from happening, to make good things happen, and to have people ready and able to respond to whatever might come next happens because of you all. Without you all, it would not happen. It would not be possible. We use the phrase mission support, but actually when you look at mission support, it's what makes a mission possible. Without the people in this room, it would not be possible for DHS to do what it does day in, day out. And when you talk about operations versus mission support, they're hand in glove, both incredibly important. And please, I just understand just how much everything you do, while it's not, while we don't always express the gratitude as often as we should, is truly and sincerely appreciated at the most senior levels within DHS. I know Chip and I, every opportunity we get, as well as Stacy, thank you all for the tremendous work that happens. And particularly in the financial community, it's not always the dramatic thing that happens where somebody steps in and saves the day. It is the brilliant professionalism that anticipates challenges, figures out solutions and alternatives, and moves out on those before something ever becomes a possible crisis. So just sincere thanks from my heart for everything that you all do. I have a profound appreciation for the financial community, not just in the position I'm in now, but because I spent a lot of my career in acquisition, starting out as in contracting and a contracting officer. And I was smart enough to realize early on that this is an area of expertise where you truly need the professional experts. And I was not going to go out on my own, out on a limb, without talking to the right people. And just a quick story from my time at the Coast Guard, which I think helped me and reinforced to me just how important it is to talk to the right people. I was in a meeting with, this is early days of deep water when things were not going so well. I was in a meeting with Admiral Gary Ballore, and some of you may remember him, and we were having a discussion, about what the reprogramming levels were. And there was about 3 minutes of discussion and people going back and forth, and there was a lot of I think or it might be, and he stopped the conversation and said, "This isn't a time to speculate. This is a time to ask somebody who knows the answer. So come back to me with an answer, and I don't care what you think, I care what the answer is." And so to me, that was a tremendous lesson that no matter how much we think we know, really going to the experts and having the right people in the room is just absolutely essential. And I guarantee you, the next time we had a similar conversation, the budget person was sitting in the room and could definitively answer that question on the first shot. So to me, that was just a reinforcement of how important it is to work together, but also how important it is to have the subject matter expertise available and present when you consider different problems and solutions. So it's really my pleasure and honor to speak to you today. The very diverse DHS financial community, as diverse as our mission sets are, you all find ways to support all the many, many diverse things we do. It's really appreciated. It was nice to see some familiar faces out in the audience and a whole bunch of new people that I haven't yet had the chance to meet, but I look forward to doing that. I have had less of an opportunity to be the Undersecretary for Management than I had hoped when I was confirmed back in August. I got confirmed on, I think it was Thursday or Friday, Thursday. And General Kelly announced he was going to become the Chief of Staff of the White House on Friday. So all of a sudden, I was ready and had my wonderful 90-day plan of what I was going to do as Undersecretary for Management, and then I had the opportunity to go be at the time, performing the duties of the Deputy Secretary for the summer, and then had an opportunity when Secretary Nielsen was confirmed to come back and work as Undersecretary of Management. And one of the things that Chip and I have really focused on, and continuing some of the things that began under his tenure, is really focusing on getting to know the various communities, what you all do, what's important to your success, and working to knit across the various functional communities. Mission support is absolutely a team sport, and there is no issue I can think of that we work in isolation where it's just one functional area that has engagement. Whether you're talking about challenges with the pay cap that we dealt with this last fall, or home to work, or any of those other lovely issues that seem to pop up, it really is a team sport and working together across the board. What we're looking for is that opportunity to come up with bigger and better solutions, and by bigger, I mean more impactful. One of the things that I was really excited about with the theme for this conference is the living, right? I screwed it up, sorry. Living a leadership lifestyle, because it really is about leadership and leading from wherever you are. And we are in the middle of leadership year, which is a tremendous thing, and really want everybody to be providing as much leadership as they possibly can. And by that, what I mean, or how I define it, is not Did people come to work? Did you manage to do what you were supposed to do? You know, that's important. But what I want and what I would ask each of you to do is to think about, how can I do my job better than I ever thought possible? How can I inspire the people next to me to do things better than they ever thought possible? And how do I push my organization to do the same thing? You all have a lot of great ideas and a lot of great opportunities to significantly improve the department. The department is 15 years young, is how I would refer to it. We've made a tremendous lot of progress, but there's still so much more we can do. And what really inspires me is when I'm talking to people, seeing the glimpses of opportunity that we still have to capitalize on. I really believe the department is on the verge of being bigger than the sum of its parts. I do believe we can take advantage of that opportunity, and this is the sort of forum that's going to help us accomplish that. You all getting together, learning each other face to face, not just an email, not just a voice on the phone, but talking face to face, tackling common challenges, developing skills to address those challenges, and developing the leadership skills, not just the technical skills, is just absolutely instrumental. So I really want to applaud the leadership that Stacy has shown over the last several years in terms of making this and Burl, making this a top priority associated with education and training and how do we move our workforce forward. DHS, the DHS financial community has developed tremendously from where we were in our infancy when we stood up initially as a department. I was not here as a plank holder. I had the joy of being here right immediately post-Katrina when Rudy was working Katrina and we pretty much forgot about everything else. What really impressed me this last summer is we handled any number of catastrophic storms, in addition to a pretty significant cyber event with NotPetya, in addition to handling a vast number of additional operational priorities and needs, including responding to several executive orders. And the department did it all well. We didn't have to stop doing something because we were responding. We were able to do everything that was asked of us, and do it in an exceptional way. You know, I had a conversation with OMB years ago, and the negative comment was, when is DHS going to learn to walk and chew gum? Well, I'd say this summer we ran while juggling and chewing gum and washing some dishes on the side, so you all just rocked it. I mean, it really was a tremendous accomplishment where people pulled together, and I give credit not just to the individuals who worked directly with the hurricane, which was heroic, but the individuals who stayed back, who made sure everything else continued to progress, who made it possible for other people to volunteer. And it was a superhuman effort across the board, but we did it, and we did it well, and that's something that we should take great pride in associated with those accomplishments. And whether you were supporting it directly or indirectly, I know the hurricane responses and disaster responses, because there were wildfires as well, really impacted just about everybody in some way or another. So getting back to kind of leadership and talking a little bit about leadership, everyone in here is a leader, and everybody needs to accept that role and see themselves as a leader. And I had an interesting conversation with an individual I had run into in the headquarters, and we were talking about leadership here and what their role was. And the person said, well, I'm only a GS9. Yes, there are GS9s that exist at headquarters. I know some of you don't believe it, but they do. They do exist. And but that individual was at that time working to put up signs in cubicles for new employees who were coming on board so that they would be part of the team and they were recognized as part of the team. And to me, as small as that gesture seemed to be, that was leadership. And I asked her who had asked her to do it, and she said nobody, but people should know where they're supposed to sit, and they should know how they're part of the team. And to me, she didn't see it as leadership. That was absolutely leadership. So leadership is not just your big grand gestures, it's also the small things you do day in and day out, whether you're modeling a behavior, whether you're recognizing somebody for the contributions they make, whether you're just making a positive comment on what somebody has contributed, or making sure we're including a different perspective when we're going forward to make a decision. Leadership takes all forms, and everybody needs to exercise that skill and get stronger in their leadership capacity every single day, day in and day out. And so having 10 different tracks associated with leadership at this event is absolutely essential, and was really excited when I saw that on the agenda. But again, everybody is a talented, dedicated leader in their own right, and taking advantage of it and leveraging that expertise and that capability, it just gives the department almost unlimited potential. So I was excited this morning. You all did the CFO ACT Awards, which was phenomenal. I remember sitting in the Monroe building applauding my financial folks who had gotten recognized back when I was with the Coast Guard. But it's nice to take time to recognize each other formally. But I'd also ask you all throughout the year to make sure you recognize coworkers, people in other organizations you work with who contribute to the overall success. Recognizing and celebrating what we do together is incredibly important from my perspective, and really one of the things that makes DHS special. So going to the hurricane, and you can't avoid telling a hurricane story, but just thinking about working with some financial professionals during that time frame. I'm going to embarrass Mary Coleman's for a second. So we were at that time, the Disaster Relief Fund, this was early-ish September, and OMB was hoping we'd be able to get through the end of the fiscal year without replenishing the DRF, and we had to persuade them to transfer $100 million out of the base funding to get us through for a couple of weeks. One disaster later and one coming, we had basically very limited time to come up with a solution and come up with what we thought we realistically needed to get us through the end of the fiscal year, but not overestimate what we had, because the department was the OMB was very concerned that we would not overstate what we realistically could spend. So using models and very little sleep and a lot of expertise, came up with something that was credible associated with what we needed to replenish that disaster relief fund to get through the end of the fiscal year. And OMB didn't like the number initially, but the credibility associated with the modeling and the expertise that FEMA has in that capacity and their ability to explain what they were doing with the task order assignments made it absolutely easier to sell and the Hill was ready to throw money at it. It was actually convincing OMB that what we needed was that additional financial, what was the right amount. But it was a total team effort. They were looking across and saying, what mission task assignments do we need? What do we cash flow? Looking at all of the various expertise. And I just use that as an example of how financial personnel are not just unidimensional in terms of their talents and expertise. You all have tremendous critical thinking skills, analytical skills, and quite frankly, you all are thinking years ahead, but also thinking execution on any given day. If you think about it, in 2017, you all stepped up in ways that were just absolutely amazing in terms of 3 different budgets in very short order. We got the 2017, we got the wrap out, we got 2019, we got everything done that we should have done, and in a tremendously successful way. And that's not possible if you can only focus on one task, only do one thing at a time. And it really is a talented group that you all represent in terms of moving things forward. So going back to hurricane for just a second, a specific example I wanted to highlight from this morning that you may have heard about relative to a particular award winners that we were going to highlight. So Puerto Rico did not fare so well, if most of you all probably know. I spent a number of trips down there, and one of the things that we weren't used to is a sustained challenge associated with not having power. We're used to people not having power for 3 days, 5 days, maybe a week. All of a sudden, you now have an economy that's driven by cash because you cannot do electronic transactions. And these 3 individuals, where you have all kinds of assistance activities ongoing, but not really an access to what we would traditionally use, purchase cards, purchase orders, your more traditional functions. But FEMA and Coast Guard working together came up with a strategy with, I'm going to recognize, the Base Boston Cash team. So Brian Jackson Tom Evester and Ryan Warnicki. Are any of the three of you here by any chance? Oh, darn. Okay, so these three individuals, though, you know, from an internal controls perspective, we never like to use the cash, and we never like to use those the bank checks. All of a sudden, we had to pull those out of the, in case of emergency, break glass and figure out how to use them correctly and how to move those forward, and came up with a way to process 212 checks for $300,000 in very short order. And that's not something we exercise a lot. In fact, most of it is the don't do this. And so having people who understand the full range of skills and capabilities that we have available to use when we need them and use them appropriately is absolutely a critical thing. So as we look forward from a department's perspective, one of the things I wanted to also talk to you all about was unity of effort. Some people think unity of effort was the joint task forces. Some people think unity of effort is done and completed. I guess I view it differently and think unity of effort is really a journey, and we've begun that journey. But there's a lot we can and need to do together to advance that. Unity of effort is looking bigger than just one particular challenge and looking for solutions that solve a multitude of problems that really do advance us and make us move forward in a way that best prepares ourselves for the missions ahead. So not just for today, but where are we going to be in 3 years, where are we going to be in 5 years, and how do we work together to achieve that? Unity of effort is something that each of us needs to own a part of, and each of us needs to be contributing to what those solutions would be. Across the management directorate, we work together on integrated priorities to look, and it's not always an easy meeting to sit through, but it is a really important meeting in terms of how do we continue to make strategic progress across the board on the unity of effort. And unity of effort, to me, is really going to be successful when we look at how we accomplish something as a department, and we look and say, we did that together as a team. We didn't have 3 people doing the same thing. We didn't have nobody doing something that needed to happen. We worked it together and came up with the best combination of assets, resources, technology, and people to accomplish what our mission should be, and we did it in a cost-effective way. As you look at the budgets, I don't have to tell anybody in this room that 18 was an anomaly, that we're talking about a pretty tight budget environment going forward. And to me, what makes that more important is every dollar that we invest is a dollar that's not available for some other highly needed capability that we have across the department. The list of unfunded requirements is almost endless. We have to make tough decisions every day on risk trade-offs. And we do it well based on analysis by a lot of the folks in this room in terms of what would it mean if this gets funded at a different level? What would it mean if this doesn't get funded at all? What would it mean if we had to delay that for another priority? Doesn't mean that it's not a priority. It just means, unfortunately, that in this threat-ridden environment, there are a lot of threats that we have to handle and we have to address. So every single dollar that we spend, every single dollar that the taxpayers invest in us, needs to be spent absolutely wisely. I think it's absolutely tremendous, and quite frankly, at the time, sitting at a component, I wasn't sure we were going to get there, but 5 clean audit opinions in a row is just absolutely amazing. And then winning the SEER award for the clarity of publications is just great. That says, not only can we talk to people about the money that they are choosing to invest in the Department of Homeland Security and tell them how that's going to be spent, we can do it in a way that they can understand, which is step 1 in the future security of this department. If people can't understand where their money's going, if they don't appreciate what they get for that money invested, it is really hard to make that case on the Hill that they need to invest more. And I wish I could tell you that we're living in a world that's getting safer and more peaceful and less, and the weather was getting calmer and not more turbulent, but that's not the world we live in. We're going to be facing rapidly evolving threats. We're going to be facing threats that probably most people in this room can't even imagine, and we are going to be able to need to do it in an agile, responsive way. That includes our financial systems as well as every aspect of mission support and operations. And so, to me, that's what's really important about unity of effort. What can we do to safeguard our people, our homeland, and our way of life? And unity of effort is the way we're going to do that successfully. It's the way we're going to do it efficiently, and it's the way we're going to do it to best serve our fellow Americans and our families and friends. And that's really why we're all here. DHS has, yeah, it's a paycheck, but quite frankly, most people don't stay at DHS for a paycheck. Most people are here because of the tremendous mission that we choose to serve. And whether you're in uniform or not, you have chosen to serve. And I really appreciate that dedication and that loyalty to keeping our nation safe. But that, I am going to ask all of you all to take it one step further and think about what we can do from a unity of effort to advance that mission that much better, to do things smarter, to make sure that we really are maximizing the investment that everybody is making in our department. So just one last thought as you're here. Again, really appreciate the time you all are taking to invest in your professional development. While you're here, please don't just talk to the people you knew when you came in. Please take advantage of the opportunity to talk to people that you haven't met or that work in different disciplines to really further your learning. Because quite frankly, one of the best successes out of this conference would be if everybody had a list of 6 to 10 new phone a friend in case of you have a question that comes up, and also to broaden your network of people you know in terms of expertise. There are a lot of novel problems we encounter, but they may be similar to what's a challenge somebody else has undertaken. And also, we're always looking for opportunities to say, what is a consistent approach we should be taking across the department versus what's unique, and looking for those opportunities to capitalize on the good work that has been done across the department, perhaps in somewhere else. So take advantage of the learning opportunity, ask lots of questions, learn a lot, and then when you get back, please just make sure you talk to the folks who didn't have the opportunity to be here and discuss what you learned and what you took away from this. And I'm just going to end by saying thank you again for everything you all are doing. Without you all, our mission would not be possible. Homeland Security is absolutely essential to our national security, and what you do is amazing. And having relied on and worked very closely with financial professionals throughout my career, I have tremendous respect for what you all do. And I'll be the first person to admit, I probably only understand about 15% of it and know enough to pretend I don't understand the other 85. So, but thank you again, and have a wonderful conference.
You're next. Thanks. Who's orchestrating this whole thing? Yeah, I'm just kidding. So, thank you to Ms. Grady for her remarks. I think it's super important to reiterate how grateful we are for her continued support, and both the acting deputy secretary and the undersecretary